Hi guys, this is Snap. Today we're going to be going over the ritual balance changes and how it will affect our party comp in ritual. There are a lot of changes specifically to auras that we saw targeted at aura stacking. Aura bots also ate a collateral nerf. Overall, it is a nerf. However, you wouldn't ever consider changing your party comp just because of it. Auras are still very strong. The curse bot is still very strong. The disc bot is still very strong. Almost nothing has changed comp-wise. There are a few small adjustments on what gear you put where, and also the Scion cluster jewels are a little bit different. So I guess we could get straight into that. Once again, I'll be linking all of the POBs down in the description, so you can take a look at those if you want to follow along. Just do note that you do need the community fork installed to be looking at this POB, so make sure you have that. I'll also put a link to that in the description. First things first, for the Scion pathing, I decided to cut off the arcane focus pathing in order to get more points. Also opted for the Might of the Meek pathing for the 6 RMR, dropping the leadership node, and then finally taking an intuitive leap and using it to grab charisma, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of people already do. As for the cluster jewels, we saw two main nerfs that affect the aura bot side of things. We saw that the small aura nodes go from 6% to 3%. We also read in the manifesto that First Among Equals is going to be getting a nerf. I think we can assume that it's probably going from 10% to 8%. We don't have the specific numbers now, but it would honestly make sense that First Among Equals goes from 10 to 8, given that replenishing is at 8% and wasn't even mentioned in the manifesto. Now, obviously, with these aura changes, we immediately won't be at 90 overcap, so we got to do a few things. The first thing you want to do is replace all of your vengeful commanders with replenishing presence. Unfortunately, with the aura changes, you won't be able to hit that 90 overcap very easily. And the first thing you got to do is cut out some of that offense and get in some of these replenishing presence for some more generic aura effect. And now, since the nerfed numbers aren't in POB, you're going to have to simulate them somehow. What I've done is I've counted up all the small nodes and all of the nodes that are using First Among Equals. I took 3% off of all the small nodes and 2% off of all the First Among Equals. I put it here on my belt. The total is 66% reduced aura effect. There are 18 small nodes, which all lose 3%, which is 54. And then there are 6 First Among Equals, which is 12. So 54 plus 12 equals 66. We put it here on the belt, 66% reduced aura effect, which should simulate the nerfs pretty well. I have changed the number of small passes that I'm getting on the tree here in order to get up to specifically the 89 overcap. At this point, I would honestly recommend you stop. I do not think it is worth pushing from 89 to the 90 overcap. This might make some of you upset. 89 is not a nice number, 90 is a better number. But there's a few reasons why. The main function is obviously cost. This build is using only 2 -1 RMR jewels. The first one being an energy from within that you can get from the div card, which isn't super expensive. The other one being Conqueror's Efficiency, which comes from the campaign, which a lot of people are volleying. You could easily pick one of these up early on in the campaign when people are volleying them and completing their quests. Everything else, including the Might of the Meek and the Intuitive Leap, are not -1, and this allows you to fit everything in. The only real way to get aura effect past this is to try and drop your energy from knots and replace them with Supreme Commander, which gives you purity aura effect. Alternatively, you could drop these RMR nodes if you manage to get enough RMR and replace them with aura effect. However, that is super hard to do. It costs a lot of money. You're going to need a lot of -1, and in my opinion, it's generally not worth doing. So you're either going to be spending a lot on RMR in the form of Skyforths, or you're getting RMR jewels, or you're going to be losing a lot of ES from dropping energy from knots to try and get Supreme Commanders, all in the name of just getting 1 overcap. And to me, the cost is so absurd, you have to change your build so much that if you're going to be dumping that much money into RMR jewel, you might as well just go Victorios, and it should be a lot easier to hit that 90 overcap. So this version still maintains the cheapness and the tankiness of the Shavs version, but also gets to an acceptable level of overcap, 89 instead of 90, and the cost really hasn't gone up or down at all. You just really need 2 uncorrupted jewels, which is Might of the Meek and an Intuitive Leap, which should be pretty affordable. And that's honestly about it for the aura changes. Nothing really else has changed. We did get some new Ascendancy notables on the Scion as well that you might be able to take, but I do still think that Necro and Guardian are still the best subclasses. Obviously, Necro gives you an absolute fuck ton of attack and cast speed, which honestly just can't be beaten, and Guardian gives you a lot of physical damage reduction, which is something you desperately need. And you wouldn't ever trade out all of your physical damage reduction from Guardian just to get to 1 overcap, getting aura effect on champion. Tailwind on Deadeye is super attractive. But we are having somebody else take that in the party, which is the strength stacker. As for the gear, nothing's changed. It's exactly the same. Basically, you just do a little bit of different pathing here with the jewels, and you also take some different cluster jewel setups, and you're good to go. The next nerf we need to address is going to be affecting the disc bot, mainly Stalwart Commander right here. We're going to assume that it's going from 30% to 20%. which is in line with Vengeful Commander. He also does take First Among Equals, so that's going to be 2% off of that. He does end up taking 16 Stalwart Commander, and so here on this flask, I made sure not to have any flask effect, but the lines are 160% reduced Determination, Grace, and Discipline effect, and then also 39% reduced Aura effect. That should simulate the nerfs pretty well. Before, we previously had the Discbot wearing a Kingmaker, which I don't really think is viable anymore. Unfortunately, the Discbot ate a huge chunk to his personal ES pool, and so now you're going to have to put on an Ephemeral Edge and an Aegis Aurora. I do think that this is going to be the best combo to get the most tankiness out of this, as every time you block with your capped block here, you're going to be recovering about 1200 ES before alt quality determination scaling. And that's about it. Basically, you have to drop Kingmaker on the Guardian. So instead of wearing stupid fucking gear, you gotta actually maybe equip a weapon and a shield. Everything else should stay the exact same. Now, you might be wondering with these nerfs to Discbot if Mana Guardian might be a more attractive choice. And it might be really easy for you to think that that's the case. You can obviously get more ES on a Mana Guardian now than you can a Discbot. But the Discbot provides so much more than just a Mana Guardian does. Keep in mind that this is super buffed Grace, Discipline, and Determination. And even if alt quality Determination is 10% of what it is now, the amount of armor that you're given, as well as the amount of utility that you can give on this build through Torrent's Reclamation, Perkle's Toe, as well as Dyed Bellow, it more than makes up the difference for the amount of just raw ES that you're losing. Biz damage hits can be super scary in high orb delirium maps, and so having the armor is super nice. Now, the very last thing we do have to address is the strength stacker. While nothing's really changed on the strength stacking build that we've been playing, we do, however, want to attempt to slap the Kingmaker on this build. Kingmaker does give a fuck ton of multi and rarity, and while you can slap it on an AG, it is an opportunity cost for the AG's defenses. And also, getting the AG to stand on top of the carry is somewhat fickle, and we find that the rarity is more consistent if you can slap it on a player, which is completely doable on the strength stacker. You do lose a few breakpoints, which is fine. Getting the multi and the rarity back is definitely a worthy trade-off. So instead of using a strength, shield, and axe, we slap on the Kingmaker, and then all we have to do is do a different aura setup, running Purity of Ice to cap out our reses, and we're completely fine. We also did take 2 points at the Scion wheel to get some more resistance, and that's literally the only changes. But yeah, I think that about sums up most of the major changes that we're going to be doing in our party as a result of the nerfs. And while we don't have specific numbers on alt quality gems, we can just assume that they're going to be lowered. Nothing mechanically is changing about them, so they are going to be weaker. You're going to be using them nevertheless. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, anything like that, I hope this goes over most of the changes and all of the nerfs that are addressing our party. Not a whole lot has happened. It's a small nerf overall across the board. Auras did get a little weaker. You're going to feel the dip in damage just because you're taking less Vengeful Commanders. But overall, the comp itself is extremely strong. Nothing overall has changed. Just some small adjustments need to be made as a result of the nerfs. If you guys do have any questions, anything like that, please leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer as many people as I can. And I am trying to get the Penance brand video out tonight or tomorrow. And I do stream on Twitch. You can get a lot of this info out of me before I hit it on the YouTube. So if you want to come hang out there, I try to answer most of you guys' questions you might have. And we're also streaming our practices over there. We'll also be streaming the league starts. So come say hi. And once again, I'm Snap, and thanks for watching.